Well, good evening, Broncos country. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup, brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and hey, sponsored by Morgan Trinkets. We'll talk about them a little bit later. I am your host. My name is Keith Brugman. I've got my full panel of guys, minus one, but hey, we'll be looking for that plus one again shortly. But the ones that are here, let's say hello to Mile High, Albert, Dutchie, the one and only. The one and only. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. And by the way, guys, this time it is my turn to be late. We had a really nice discussion, and I apologize for being late, but our discussion was very amusing and entertaining, and maybe we'll get into it a little bit later. That was awesome. Thanks to be here, guys.
It was awesome, man. I was going to come in here saying I had a fire to put out. I didn't realize the fire was Dutchie, man. He was bringing it, man. I tell you what. Well, maybe that'll bleed over into what we got going on here on the show, man. It's going to be a fired up show. No better way to fire it off than the Rocket Man, Trevor Salzman. How we doing, Rocket Man?
Doing great, and I'll add on to Dutchie's kind of discussion there. I could have probably went on for another hour, so I kind of just shut it down. And like, guys, I got to get on. We have a show to do. We have fans that are relying upon us. Let's get into it now. And this will be not extended out to about 8:13 by the time we would start. So you're welcome, guys.
Ain't that the truth, man? Gotta love it, though, man. Shows, man, we are passionate as fans. We are passionate as Broncos, Broncos country mixed in with everybody out there as well. Kind of like Michelle Knoppers. Michelle Knopper is jumping in on YouTube, coming in early, saying, "Yo, gents, top of the evening to you, and top of the evening to you, Michelle. Always in here supporting, giving us the love. We appreciate it, man. Posse is stacking up because we got Pearl coming in as well, saying hi all. Hello, Pearl. Good to see you. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Hoping Morgan Trinkets had a fantastic weekend, and great to see you here on a Tuesday. It's my days are all mixed up. I haven't had days off like I should, and so I'm trying to keep track. But yeah, we're on here every Tuesday and every Friday, so I should remember it's just one of those 2 days, right? Michael Ronquillo coming in here and saying, "Good evening, Keith, Albert, Trevor, big orange and blue hearts, clapping it up. We appreciate, well, hey, as we like to call it, Roundup royalty, Mr. Ronquillo, sitting right near the top, sir. I appreciate you so much coming in here and supporting the show." Yeah, I tell you what, you're fired up on a lot of different topics, but I can tell you what, for me, it seems like things were going pretty good. Don't get me wrong. We went through the Russell Wilson. We went through Justin Simmons. We went through some heartache. We went through some trauma, and things were starting to calm down, simmer down, plugging a few holes in, with some depth pieces. Things are going well. And then all of a sudden, man, it looks like the Broncos may have problems. Sorry, I couldn't help but do getting a little bit punny there, guys. But we got to get into it, man. Cortland Sutton decides not to go to voluntary workouts. Yes, it's voluntary. A lot of guys don't go to voluntary workouts. I get that. The issue was the tagline that came behind it, per Tom Pelissero, coming in saying, well, he also would like a new contract. Trevor, I'll start it off with you. What were your thoughts when you heard about Sutton not reporting and to voluntary workouts, his contract? Oh, and by the way, too, a little off-season ankle surgery, if you weren't aware as well. So we'll get into that. I want you to get into that, and then we'll get back into the comments, get Albert in here as well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he's wanting a new contract. First and foremost, Keith, if we go back to a couple months ago, I think January maybe, or right around that time, he came out with that Instagram post. Pretty much, and we talked about on this very show that it might be a goodbye time for Cortland Sutton. He might be off this team. So I'm not surprised that he wants a new extension. I think that if you look at his numbers, he's been pretty productive. Given the circumstances that the team has had to go through with all what was he been through, 11 quarterbacks, 12 quarterbacks now he's been through. So it's just like it's a whirlwind. You can never get on the same page with the quarterback when you're on a team that is kind of consistently changing quarterbacks and swapping them out. So I feel for Cortland Sutton on that front. For the Broncos standpoint, it's a little tough, right? I mean, you just release Justin Simmons or Russell Wilson's gone. It's been a busy offseason. The last thing I think you can do is to afford your number one wide receiver to be unhappy and to not be here in Denver. Because let's face it, guys, a rookie quarterback comes in here. I don't want Josh Reynolds as my number one wide receiver on this football team. I mean, Cortland Sutton on this team is a number one. He could definitely help out a rookie quarterback and help mold that rookie quarterback into what Sean Payton wants. So I think Sutton he wants more years added to his deal. He's got $2 million guaranteed. I can see why he wants that. I also can see why the Broncos maybe not want to give him that extension because he's got 2 years left on his deal. But I mean, next year's not guaranteed, so you just never know. They could just get rid of him, and so I don't think they will this year. But maybe next offseason we might be talking about Cortland Sutton possibly being on the move. I don't know if they'll release him, but maybe trade him if he plays, depending on how he plays. But kind of a tough situation. I don't know how much of it will come out of it now, but maybe down the line it might spark up this discussion again.
Yeah, we'll get into solutions here in a second. Right now, we're getting into reaction. Before I get to Albert, I'm just going to say hello to a few people in the posse. Got to say hello to, as Albert even now calls her, Big Sis. That's my sister coming in saying love to all, love to you as well. Appreciate you supporting me, sis. Appreciate it very much. Got our good friend Pearl saying, with a comment I'll get to a little bit later. I apologize. I read that off to the side. Kenny Kirkpatrick of the amazing K&K Sports Show. If you guys don't already know, huge draft spectacular with let me just, I'm going to tease it a little bit of teaser here. How about live coverage? A guy at the draft that's going to be checking in for the Broncos pick, as well as our good friends over at K&K Sports Show, because they're Giants. He's going to be checking in for them as well. But he's saying, good evening to the Tuesday Night Titans in the podcast world. What's up, fellas? Wow, man. Appreciate all the accolades. That's awesome, buddy. Appreciate that so much. And appreciate you joining the show. But what's up with us? We're talking about what's going on with one of our big receivers. And, of course, you can always jump in, everybody, with your thoughts and comments. Got Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Keith, Dutchie, and Trevor. So we trade back. We have Nix, Rattler, Penix are available. Who are we taking? Maybe we'll get that here in just a second. Get a few more comments, but I did want to say hello to Phil. Phil's been coming in here supporting the show like no other as of lately, and he did as well tonight. That's another 200 stars. I'll get back to that comment and question here in just a second. I want to get Albert's thoughts on Sutton, and then maybe we'll jump over to Phil's comment since he's dropping the stars. But Albert, what's your thoughts when you first heard about Sutton? What was your first reaction?
Well, my first reaction was, hey, it is a voluntary thing. Doesn't mean he is upset or something like that. No, he isn't. He just will take a time and why go to a training that is volunteering and maybe get injured, because that is still can happen. Sure. I think there might be a little bit of smoke to this, but I just take it with a grain of salt. Cortland Sutton, I don't think he is unhappy. The Broncos have treated him fairly. They have given him another shot, because the year after he came back from an injury, he was not good. He was not great, and they gave him another shot. I think there's not much to it.
I think, and I'm going to get to Phil's comment right after this, because I do want to get a couple of 2 cents in on this. I think there shouldn't be much to it. And I think Cortland Sutton is way out of line And it might be him just trying to paint a picture of him trying to get out of Denver, quite honestly. It was only in 2021 he signed that 4-year extension worth $60.8 million. In his 2 years on that contract, this is where he ranks in touchdowns with 12. He's 18th. And that's with him putting up 10 touchdowns in 2023. That gives him 2 in 2022. He's 44th in yards per catch. He's 93rd in yards after the catch. He's 82nd in drops, and he's 58th in success rate. This is among 97 receivers with 40 catches or more. He is not performing to the contract that he has. Right now, he's scheduled to make $17.4 million in 2024, 2 of which was guaranteed here on March 18th. It's funny that he's coming out wanting to trade after he gets his guaranteed $2 million. And then he's another 17.8 if he plays through 2025. The guys, just really quick, that rank above him in money being paid right now: CeeDee Lamb at 17.9, Michael Pittman Jr. 18, DeAndre Hopkins 18.3, Tyler Lockett 18.9, and Jordan Jefferson 19.7. So how much more are you going to pay for Courtland Sutton? Courtland Sutton needs to pay on this contract, or he needs to be gone. Maybe he's part of trade, but I want to get back to Phil McLaughlin. Like I said, dropping stars. We got to give him some love. So he's saying, if we trade back, we have Nix, Rattler, and Penix are available. Who are you taking? I'm going to start off. I'll go back around the other way. Albert, I know that you're not in love with taking a quarterback, but if you want to take a quarterback, we've traded back. Now we have an option. The option that is that we're going to go with a quarterback. Who are you going to take between those 3 guys?
Yeah, still, if we can trade back because we don't get Brock Bowers at number 12, and I don't want to pick a quarterback in general, but if we trade back and we have to pick, I have to pick one. Michael Hears.
Michael Ayers. You're going deep in the draft. Yeah, top 30 visit, Michael Ayers.
Yeah, why not there? Because we have so much other needs, too many gaping holes, and we can use. We need to take our money to the bank and get what we can get, as much out of it, with some interest, and that is what we need to do.
Potential 5th to maybe 7th round potential, I would say. Michael Ayers out of Samford. Interesting. You're saying, yeah, go ahead, trade that 1st round pick back, load me up with all the other positions, but get Michael Ayers late in the draft. Interesting take. Hopefully you like that answer, Phil. Trevor, what are your thoughts? I'll throw that back up again. Nix, Rattler, Penix are available. Who are you taking, buddy?
Yeah, for me, Keith, I think it's depends on how far you're trading back to take one. I mean, for me, like Bo Nix in 2nd round, I think you roll the dice and see what you have. I think he's an immediate upgrade over Jared Stidham, honestly. We talked about what Nix would look like in a Sean Payton offense, and he gets the ball out quickly. He processes well. So I think early 2nd round, I don't know why you wouldn't take a chance on Bo Nix if he's there. Maybe he doesn't check every single box as far as a franchise quarterback, but if he can be that guy that Sean Payton analyzes the best fit for his offense, I don't know why you wouldn't take a chance and get more draft capital to put around him, to put more players on this roster and make the roster better. You also get your quarterback. Again, it's just a little late in the game, and Denver still hasn't made a move at quarterback. I think that they do like somebody in this draft class. I just don't know where and who they're going to take. I think that's the biggest question.
Yeah, I would put more money on trading up than trading back. But Phil, I'm going to answer your question as well. Those are all fantastic names, in my opinion, to be considering. And there's some debating even going on as I'm almost speaking, I guess is the best way to put it. It's a toss-up for me between Rattler and Penix. I think Penix right now could come in and he can absolutely be dynamic. I think he has the ability from an arm talent standpoint to really be able to press, secondaries in the NFL right away. He has injury concerns. He's not that great outside of the pocket. He seems stiff and rigid, even though he ran great times as far as a straight line 40 in his pro day. And for that, I think I would go with Rattler. I've been on that for quite some time. I think Rattler has a live arm. It's a quick arm. He can make those throws to the sideline. He has touch. He can drop it in at different speeds and different angles. He's, if you're trading back, for me, that's that guy that I would like to go with. I think he has one of the better ceilings and lowest floors, I guess is the best way to put it as well. So for me, it's going to be Rattler. But Phil, I would like to get your thoughts on that exact same question.
No, I was going to say, you may not even have to trade back for Rattler, though. They have a third-round draft pick, and if he falls in the third round, he might be there anyways. I've done plenty of mock drafts and simulators, and he's been there most of the time. So Denver might not even have to trade a pick to get Rattler. They could just take him in the third round. I think it would be like a Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. Those would be the two guys that if you trade back and you want a quarterback early on, and it's not Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton, those would be two guys that those would be the two guys that you'd be trading back with into the second round, or maybe late in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. It's the only thing I would say is if it's your quarterback and you really think you need him, then you find a way to get him. If you think he's going to go before he falls to you in the third and you have to get into the late second, I'm okay with that. I would say that I wouldn't expect Bo Nix to fall all the way to the late second. So we're talking two different areas of the draft. But trading back and having all those guys available, I would still. That being said, if he's your guy, if you really think that he's your guy, then like they said, I don't care if it's at 2, I don't care if it's at 12, I don't care if it's 22. You just go and you get your guy. If that's your guy, you get your guy. You don't say, well, I'd really like him in the third round. Well, too bad. He might not be there in the third round. If he's your guy, at some point, I feel like you need to go up and get him. And there's certain guys that are like that. So, all right. Appreciate the conversation, Phil. That was amazing. Getting back to some of the Sutton conversation, Leanna comes in and says, I think it was for show or he is leaving. Patrick Wiltsey, it's been a day or two, I think, since I've seen you. Cheers to you. A little bit of Lion Coffee. Head on over to lioncoffee.com. They power me every day, afternoon, evening. Might have to figure out if you guys have decaf here pretty soon. If not, I'm powering through a little bit too late through the night sometimes. So he says, bye Sutton. Maybe they include him in a trade to Arizona with some picks for number 4. And this is where I wanted to get to, guys. A great segue. Solutions of what we do with this newfound information with Courtland Sutton. Dutchie, you kind of alluded to before that you didn't think it was a big deal. Is this just, in your opinion, will this just be a play it out type of scenario? Everyone just kind of falls in line and Sutton plays under his contract?
Yeah, I believe so, and I really think so. The Broncos have treated Sutton very well, and yeah, guess what? If he is gone, he is gone. Tim Patrick will now have to step up and be the number 1 wide receiver. But I think it's if Courtland Sutton is going to leave to a different team, I don't think he's going to get any better. Last year he had good luck with Russell Wilson. They had a really good connection, and I think that hyped him up a little bit. But other than that, we have not seen much from him, except for those 10 touchdowns. And of course, some of those touchdowns were really, really magnificent.
Yes. Yeah.
You see it only maybe once in a lifetime. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. He is a great number 1 right now. But is he going to be another great number 1 this year? The future will tell. But I don't. We might get a Tim Patrick that might outshadow him.
You never know. If Tim Patrick could be on a comeback tour, man. He needs to be on a comeback tour. It would certainly put him back in the spotlight and keep him on this roster. Wanted to throw up a few more comments that along these lines before we get to Trevor. Michelle Knoppers, always in support, coming in and saying 100% Dutchie. Kenny Kirkpatrick of the K&K Sports Show coming in and saying, sorry, Dutchie, I disagree. I don't think he is unhappy. Last few months, Russ is gone, Simmons gone, Jerry Jeudy is traded. Veteran wide receiver coming off his best year. In my opinion, he doesn't want to be part of this rebuild. Pearl Heater's coming in and saying, goodbye, Cortland. Not a fan either. So always willing to state our opinion. Pearl's ready to move on. Where do you think this plays out, Trevor? Is it a new contract? Is it playing out how it is? Is it goodbye to Cortland Sutton? What are your thoughts on this?
It's definitely not a goodbye for the on the Denver Broncos perspective to Cortland Sutton. I just don't know how you can afford to lose him. I mean, after all these pieces you've lost this offseason, and you are wanting to draft the rookie quarterback, but you're not helping him at all by taking away his number one weapon. How is that going to help your rookie quarterback? I'm not even including, honestly, to move up to 4, if you're including 3 first-round picks in Cortland Sutton, I don't think that's helping the Denver Broncos and the rookie quarterback that they would be trading up for. You're immediately putting a lot of pressure on Tim Patrick, Josh Reynolds, and Marvin Mims to step up. Tim Patrick's on a minimum contract. You don't know what you're gonna get out of him. He's depth as of right now. He's depth until he proves, now on the field that he can be a guy that they can rely upon. You can't have him be your number one, and you can't. Josh Reynolds isn't the number one. He was number one throughout his whole career. He hasn't been. Marvin Mims hasn't proven enough yet. So a lot of uncertainties in the wide receiver room. Cortland Sutton's been your one mainstay. I just say they play it out this year. If you want to move on from at the trade deadline, fine. Or next year in the offseason, okay, fine. But this year they need Cortland Sutton regardless. You bring in a rookie quarterback if that's what you're going to do. You're going to start. Or if it's Stidham, you got to help your quarterback out. Get rid of Cortland Sutton. I know he hasn't been great. He's not a top 10 receiver anymore in the NFL. But that's not going to help this team at all. It would make things worse. Try to keep Sutton throughout this year, at least, I'd say.
Yeah, the problem I have, bud, is we're not talking about top 10. We're talking about 18th, 44th, 93rd, 82nd, 58th. We're not talking top 10 in a lot of different categories when it comes to Cortland Sutton. So what are you losing? The one thing that I'm going to throw out here, man, just as a wild card, just because of this team, is exactly what we're seeing here up on the screen. I would not rule out the fact of Sean Payton packaging players like he's done in the past in order to move around in the draft. You look at, he's had more players packaged in drafts and received in the draft, players for draft picks than almost any coach that I can remember in recent history. So he's a wheeler and dealer when it comes to trading in the draft and using players or getting players. And Cortland Sutton, if this is kind of the buttons that he's pushing, you also don't need a number one wide receiver who doesn't show up to training camp with his brand new quarterback because he wants a new deal. You don't need a wide receiver that doesn't show up until the first game of the season or holds out for the first couple of weeks of the season. You never know what's going to come of this and how far it's going to push down the line. You do have an option right now of pulling the trigger, hitting the button and moving on from him and getting value out of him rather than being in a position that, you end up, like I said, with a guy that's unhappy and willing to hold out for a long time in a long period. I do need to get over to Phil McLaughlin because he's dropping more stars and he's answering my question as well, bud. So his question, lockstep with Keith. Rattler is my choice because I think we can get him late second or early third, just like you were kind of talking that where he could end up particularly falling. And I like Spencer Rattler. Again, for those of you who may not know, Spencer Rattler, he was at Oklahoma. He had a very good freshman year. He came in his next year, didn't play all that well. And guess who was sitting right behind him, but no other than Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams steps in, does really well. Out goes Rattler in the transfer portal to South Carolina, and the rest is history. Caleb Williams goes on to be now the number one pick in this draft. But hey, when we look at Spencer Rattler, he was right there at one point, 1, 2, possibly top 1, top 5 pick in the draft consideration. So appreciate you jumping back in, Phil. I see my good friend Trevor is wanting to chime in though, and I've spoken enough. I'll get a little drink. Trevor, what do you got to say? I got to get it back around to Albert as well.
No. So what I was saying is, like, I know Cortland Sutton isn't a top 10 receiver anymore, but what I'm saying is that this late in the game, how much better are you going to get at wide receiver? We already talking about. We just did our show on Friday, and we said what was one of the bigger needs for this team? Wide receiver was one of them. So we're going to make that even bigger hole by getting rid of Cortland Sutton. I just don't know. Now is the time to move on from him when you don't have a lot behind him right now to make your quarterback better, make your offense better. I still do think this team, this Denver Broncos football team, this offense is going to be better with Cortland Sutton figured out for a year. Then next offseason, move on from him. There's just no upgrades right now for Cortland Sutton. And okay, if you don't package him into pick and for picks up to 4, then you're going to get what, 4th round pick for him. I mean, what's that going to do? I mean, you're banking on that maybe hitting, but it's a big maybe. We don't know if that's going to hit. So that's why I say you have a veteran wide receiver. I get he's unhappy. This stuff happens a lot, and you don't have a lot of other choices. You just trade Jerry Jeudy. You're going to do the same thing with Sutton, so you're just stripping this team. Then might as well start moving off from Garrett Bowles. I mean, it's just you can't play that middle pack game, time and time again. It's just I don't think that getting rid of Sutton right now is a very smart move, regardless of the situation right now.
I'll bring up a scenario after that. I'll first bring up Kenny that says it's definitely a big deal if Sutton leaves. Who are you going to be throwing the ball to? Rebuild is fine, but you have to do it the right way, kind of lockstep with our good friend Trevor. And I'm getting a big head nod from Albert. I wanted to get back around to him. Would it be a big deal? You said, hey, I think this all just plays out. It'll be all just good. But if Sutton does end up leaving this team, Albert, is that a big deal? Can we find somebody to supplement? Is it already on our roster? Some people are saying goodbye, Sutton, like Pearl and the like. What are your thoughts? Would it be a big deal, though, if Sutton has gone off this roster?
Absolutely. How would it be if you have a Patrick Mahomes and he has nobody to throw at? And the first 2 years, he doesn't win a single game, or maybe 2 or 3 games in the season. Right now, we're talking about a generation quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and he would come to a team like that, and then in 2 years, they would say, Patrick Mahomes is a bust. That is what we are talking about. And that is the conversation that we had prior to the show starts. And the same thing, Max Verstappen, the number 1 Formula 1 racer in the world, if you put him in one of the lousy teams that always finish last, he would not be world champion, no matter how good of a driver you are. But if you don't have the team that supports you, you're not going to get anywhere. You might have an occasional win because it is raining. In the Formula 1, they still race in the rain. And that's where the quality of the driver comes in hand and not the team. And that is exactly what we're talking about. And that's why I don't want to draft a quarterback at all, because right now we have too many holes that need to be filled to become competitive. And right now, I don't think we can be competitive. Simmons is gone. Sutton may be gone. Bowles may be gone. Because that is still up in the air. What about other players? We still need a very good tight end. We still could use another center. We need a center.
Name a position, man. Spin the wheel, man. It's a big wheel. It has lots of spots on it. There are lots of places we could fill, bud. I agree.
Exactly. And if you draft now on really good quarterback, but he has nothing to work with, he's not going to grow. Oh, he might learn the system maybe, but that's it. But guess what? He doesn't get to play the system because there's no quality around him.
It does take a balance, man. I get it, man. If you really want to put the team together right, you got to have all the pieces and parts and even timing around those pieces and parts at times as well, as far as when they're expected to be starters on the roster. I'm not going to disagree with you at all, man. I do want to get to a few more comments. First, I got to maybe stop a shipment. Patrick, I was kind of kidding. I don't drink all that much decaf. He says, we do have decaf. I owe the K&K show some coffee. I'll seek out some for you. Also, I'm doing pretty good on coffee. I appreciate all the shipments that have come my way, sir. And as much as I love it all, I don't drink a whole lot of decaf. I'll just have to wind it down a little bit or something to that effect. Appreciate it so much. Pearl's coming in saying Patrick is healthy. And that's always good to hear. He's been on that comeback trail a couple of times, unfortunately. We're getting a lot of support. Kenny was coming in and saying, exactly, Trevor. I know that as far as building that team and getting rid of a Sutton right now, you guys were lockstep there. Mr. Patrick Wiltsey coming in. He says, it just seems he's like ungrateful and whiny to me. Maybe kind of what you were saying, kind of, Albert. I mean, he should be a little bit grateful. Denver has treated him quite well as of late. Wow. Our good friend, the fourth horseman who is going to be joining us again, Mr. Jody Moncrief. Good to see you, sir. Hope you're doing well. Can't wait to see your face again on the screen. But he says, I think Peyton trades for Dak draft night. Put that in your pipe, guys. Smoke that up and tell me what you think. Is that a logical option? Is that a plausibility? Actually, let's just do it on screen real quick. Albert, what do you think? Trade for Dak on draft night. That's what Jody's thinking. Do you think that's a possibility, sir?
Of course, it is a possibility. You never know with Sean Payton. I don't trust Sean Payton at all right now, and so I really don't know. But I wouldn't be crying if we got Dak, because I think Dak has more potential than what a lot of people believe. I thought it with Russell Wilson too, and I think Russell Wilson is going to show that now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe Dak needs some new scenery to show off what he can do. Guess what? The wide receiver over there, what's his name, with the Cowboys? He wants a CeeDee Lamb, who wants a $178 million contract. But if there's no Dak, I don't think he will be that great.
There's that too, man. It's all about the pieces and parts. Trevor, what do you think, man? Do we get Dak in a trade on draft night there, buddy?
I mean, it's a possibility, but it's not very likely, I would say. I mean, it's just like, why would Dallas trade Dak away? He's a guy that's kept that organization, afloat, bearing all the bad decisions they've made. Jerry Jones just refuses to actually hire some football minds and let them do their work. He's always hands on. So, I mean, I would love Dak in Denver. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think. Kind of goes back to that discussion of, trading up for a rookie quarterback. Is this team ready to give up future draft picks yet again, the first round picks to get Dak? It would cost at least 3 first round picks to get this conversation started with Dak. That's what I would think that the price tag would be for Dak, and there would probably be more involved. I just don't know that you can do that. Again, like you just got done giving up all your picks for Russell Wilson. You're going to do that again for another veteran quarterback, and just in general, you do that again. Yeah. That's really hard. That's really hard to swallow. So it's just, I don't see Dak getting traded. I don't see any replacement for Dak right now. I think he plays there in Dallas next year. It's possible, yes, but Denver need to build this team thing right. Like Kenny said in the comments, they have to build this thing right, and giving away draft picks is something that they just struggled to do, and it's not paid off for them. It's time to go the other route. Now they got to start hitting on your draft picks, start building through the draft.
Phil McLaughlin says, just chiming in on this, says, how many playoffs games has Dak won with more talent than we have? D-Rock is coming in. He's been coming in lately over on YouTube. Appreciate you, D-Rock. He says, hey, fellas, am I the only one who doesn't care if Sutton gets traded? He's mid at best. Well, if you're just chiming in, D-Rock, I was kind of on board with that. I was saying, look at him maybe being packaged, and going through our comments, yeah, you have a little bit of support in there. There was a few people saying goodbye. I think he's whiny. I think this is the opportunity to move on from him as well. I think it's a pretty split fan base as we look at it in the posse, as we call it here on the Denver Bronco Roundup, that chime in. Appreciate all the comments, guys. You guys are absolutely lighting it up. Pearl was coming in, though, agreeing with you, Trevor, on that on that Dax synopsis. One thing that I got to talk to you guys about, speaking of kind of being halfway through the show, is our fantastic sponsor, and that's Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for all your Southwest jewelry, as well as your Southwest pottery and estate gold at wholesale prices. So, guys, started in 1990. They have 33 years of experience. Once nationwide, now they just concentrate in northern Colorado and southern Wyoming. In fact, they just got off of a great show out at Adams County Fairgrounds last weekend. They specialize, like I said, in all that jewelry, pottery from the Southwest is estate gold, but they also have silver, sterling silver starting at $10, going all the way up to $2,000. And all their gold, well, it's 10, 14, 18 real carat gold, 10, 14, 18 carat real gold, guys. Free shipping for any order over $50. You can head on over to Morgan Trinkets on Facebook right now. That's Morgan Trinkets at Facebook, on Facebook right now, guys. They transact in PayPal over Facebook, and if you catch them at one of those shows, they take all major credit cards. So Morgan Trinkets, check them out. Beautiful, beautiful pieces, beautiful stuff. And they'll update you on where all their new shows are. It's summertime. It's spring and summertime. The guys, they're getting out there and they're hitting all those great shows. So check out Morgan Trinkets today. Man, we're rocking and rolling through this agenda, guys. I didn't think that we'd spend all that much time on Sutton, but it's a heavy, heady topic, I guess you could say, now in Broncos country. He has been our number one receiver. He is the guy that we relied on all last year. We couldn't count on a lot of other pieces, whether it was just Judy or for multiple reasons, it seemed, or Mims not getting opportunity, or obviously have Tim Patrick go down. You know, there's only so much that you could expect from a little Jordan Humphreys or a Brandon Johnson or the like. Those guys aren't going to be a number one, right? So that has been our Courtland Sutton. What comes of Courtland Sutton, how much he's going to press this issue, how much the Broncos are going to take this information, what they do with it, and leading right up into the draft, it just seems like eerie timing, guys. We're just 9 days away. And again, speaking of which, guys, don't miss the fantastic draft show spectacular between us and the K&K Sports Show. So last little plug on that. But I wanted to get over to a couple other things. Albert brought this one up. It's been about 4 days now, but we did bring in a visit of a free agent, and it's one cornerback in Levi Wallace. We've been plugging holes left and right, trying to fill some depth spots on this roster. Albert, I'm going to let you kind of take it away. What did you think about Levi Wallace and the visit that he had, and why he's still out there lingering? Why didn't we sign him? Are we going to sign him? What's your thoughts, buddy?
I hope they're gonna do stuff because we need to bolster up the defense as well. And yeah, if you can get this guy for the cheap, maybe 5-6 million a year, then why not get him? It doesn't hurt the defense, and he has a veteran appeal with him, so that helps, and that helps with the younger guys as well. So it's good, and having a little bit of a vet next to Patrick Surtain, but that might also be the debacle. Are we still going to have a Patrick Surtain after the draft?
Mm-hmm. There you go. There you go. I think we can get him even cheaper than that. His last contract paid him 2 years over $8 million. A lot of people didn't think he was worth that, obviously, to bring him back at another current contract. He only got about half the snaps in Pittsburgh compared to where he was getting full snaps in Buffalo earlier in his career. So, yeah, I think we can get him for on the cheap. I think we're talking like anywhere between a $2 and a $4 million contract in order to bring in a Levi Wallace. I had to flash that out there. Patrick Wiltsey's asking Morgan Trinkets if they have any Broncos stuff. So Morgan Trinkets, that's Pearl Heater. Pearl, let us know. I know there we had at one point you thought you might have something stashed away in the back and you were going to take a look. So let me know, or let Patrick know more than anything. Trevor, what are your thoughts though on Levi Wallace, cornerback free agent out of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think he's good depth. I mean, this team needs a veteran corner. They've been in the market for that this whole offseason. It's just what's the guy that they can try to bank on to have a great season next year that maybe didn't have so good of a year this last year. That's Levi Wallace for you. These guys just hasn't been really good in a while, but I think he's solid. I think he's solid depth for this team. You're in a kind of in a cornerback room where it's really young. You need to add a veteran corner there. Really, they were interested in Christian Fulton as well this offseason. They missed out on. He's a veteran corner. So you kind of tells you that they're in the market for that. So the guy that they brought in for a visit, I'm sure they evaluated. It's a little interesting that they didn't sign him already because that's been how many
Yeah.
years ago now. So it's a little interesting that didn't happen. But you know, we shall see if they evaluate that, how they evaluate Wallace and all the rest of the veteran corners on the open market. I do wonder if they'll sign a corner before the draft or they'll wait till after the draft, and then will that change their philosophy? I'm not sure, but I do think they will eventually add a veteran corner. I think he'd be a solid depth guy for this team and a team that really does need to add that veteran presence to the cornerback room.
Yeah, I agree, man. The veteran presence, I think, is huge with a guy like Levi Wallace. I like the tape that he puts out there. I know that he wasn't getting near the snaps with Pittsburgh as he did with Buffalo. Maybe he's getting a little bit older, though. 26 years old, not anything too crazy. Here's a guy that's really instinctual. He closes on the ball. He can be tight in coverage. He can make up some ground, and he's aggressive. He's a kind of looks like he's a little bit of a smack talker out there, and might have a little bit of a just a little bit of toughness in him that we haven't necessarily seen stalking around in that secondary. We don't have that from a PS2. He doesn't carry himself that way. We don't get that from a Damari Mathis or a McLaughlin or anything like that. And this guy go put a guy down and let him know that he was the one who did it. And it would be interesting to have that type of presence in our backfield. I'd like to see him brought in as well. Got to say hello to Mr. Ernie Mays saying, "Go Broncos country only." Hello, Keith Trevor, and the one and only Mile High Dutchie. Well, I added in the one and only, but it's true. It's true. Michael Ronquillo, he's, again, though, all those differing opinions on Sutton, he goes back to it. He says, it's time we get wide receiver Marvin Mims more touches, and it's time for wide receiver Cortland Sutton to go win a Super Bowl. So he's already allowing him to walk out the door as well. Like I said, it's going to be a split 50-50, I think, on this up and down the board. It's kind of that way, even with there's three of us. I'm okay. You guys are like, no, hold on tight to Cortland Sutton. So we're getting differing opinions, and I love it, guys. I love the debate. D-Rock's coming in, and I like this question. Guys, what's the barometer on Riley Moss? I'm getting the inclination of him being lukewarm. I hope he'll be the guy. Riley Moss is a guy that we traded up for. We went up and we made sure we got him up in the third round. Iowa State product. Heck, played next to a guy called Cooper DeJean, just to kind of give you an idea. That's a big name that's coming out in this draft. But Riley Moss was coming off the injury, played a little bit of special teams, got a little bit of playing time on the field, but not much, mainly special teams. I'll go to Trevor first, Albert second. Trevor, what is your thoughts on Riley Moss? What's the barometer there? Is he going to be a contender this offseason for one of those cornerback positions opposite Patrick Surtain?
I think they have to give him a shot. I think anytime you're trading up for a player and you're being aggressive, you obviously believe in him. This is one of my biggest gripes with Sean Payton is these guys don't see the field nowhere near enough as far as these guys that he's moved up for in the draft. Marvin Mims is one of those guys as well. Needs to see the field more. It's just they have to give him a chance. You already traded future draft capital to do so. You got to see what he has. Throw him out there, see what he has. He redshirted basically his first year. So it's just like, and all these veteran guys, and I actually think it's the opposite. I think they're actually giving Riley Moss a chance to start. I think they're going to give him a fair chance to start. And these veterans that they're talking about, they're depth. I mean, we'll see if they make the roster type guys. They're not anything that's going to block Riley Moss. So I don't think that they're trying to do that at all. I think they're just trying to give him a veteran presence in the locker room in that cornerback room because it's a defensive backfield that's just really young. I mean, you just got rid of Justin Simmons. I mean, you really no Kareem Jackson, so you got to add those veteran guys. You have to have that. Every team's got to add that. So I wouldn't think up too much of it when it comes to these cornerbacks, the veteran cornerbacks that Denver's talking to and wanting to bring in. I think Riley Moss is a guy that they're trying to push to be a starter this year and really let him see the field because last year he just did it, and you need to see what that draft class from last year can do this year.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of hype, Albert, around Riley Moss coming in. Obviously he'd kind of come back from that injury, but, we knew that, we needed a little help last year. We were thinking in the cornerback room. Riley Moss looked like he was going to be that answer. Really, really didn't see him on the field. But for D-Rock, what are your thoughts, man? Is this going to be his year? Do you think he's going to be competing? Do you think we'll see him on the field? What do you feel, or how do you feel about Riley Moss this next year, this second year in the league?
I think he will definitely be on the field, but I think it will be more towards the middle of the season because he needs that veteran presence. He needs to learn from somebody who has done it before and he has not seen it yet. And I think that is part of the problem with Riley Moss. He needs to learn from somebody who has done it before, who has already walked in those shoes, and before Moss can step into them. And I think that is what is going to happen.
Very good. Maybe that veteran presence, maybe a Levi Wallace. You see him the first half of the season. You see kind of develop into a Riley Moss type of role. I could see something like that happening. My thought is, and it's something we've heard from Sean Payton quite a bit. And if you look up and down our drafted players from 2023, it's kind of evident. He talks about a 3-year plan. And I think a year one, the plan for a drafted guy is you don't play him hardly at all. I mean, maybe if you're lucky, you're get a few starts and your name is Marvin Mims at the first part of the year, but then we're going to shelf you and you're only going to play special teams after that, even if you are a Pro Bowler in that category. So you look up and down that roster from what we drafted last year and the amount of starts, it would probably throw back most people from other teams and saying, man, you guys didn't play any of your drafted players from 2023. So 2024 needs to be one of those years. I think that cornerback room could be very, very full. If we go out and we get a Levi Wallace and you start putting in there a Riley Moss, and then you talk about a McMillan and you talk about a McLaughlin and you start talking about all these different guys, let alone, I think that honestly, guys, Damari Mathis got the raw end of the stick. I mean, that defense looked terrible to start the year last year. Miami, there was plenty of blame to go around in Miami, and it wasn't much after Miami that Damari Mathis pretty much got the shelf, and he never got to come back when the defense was finally allowed to come back. He was not part of it. He end up playing on special teams. That's a guy that played very well opposite PS2 in 2022, and I think he'll be competing in there. So lots and lots of competition in there. I think Riley Moss is going to be a sink or swim. He's going to have to really put up in training camp this year in order to shine out and get playing time.
Yeah, I remember, Keith, back in January, remember when George Payton spoke to the media, he said, we feel like Riley Moss is a starter in this league. So to me, and they weren't saying that last year. So that just goes to show. I do think that they are having more of a determination to play these younger guys and get them to play the time that they need. That tells me that they do view Riley Moss as a starter. Why would you come out and say that, put that pressure on them if that's not the case, So, and from what they've done this offseason, they've not added a major signing at corner. I mean, yeah, you have the Russell Wilson dead cap situations. So they're not really in position to do so anyways, but they didn't go out their way to go outside a veteran corner already. We're in what, tier 3, tier 4 in free agency now? I mean, we're a ways now, and they still haven't signed him at cornerback yet. So I do think that the pathway is there for Riley Moss to be a starter next to Pat Surtain, like it should be. And that was their mindset probably going last year when they traded up for him.
You don't. I was just going to say really quick, Albert. You don't trade up into the third round and then don't think that guy's going to be a starter on your team. That you just don't do that. Albert, go ahead, buddy.
Where was the fat running cornerbacks last year? There was none.
Fast running cornerbacks?
No, where was the veteran cornerback last year?
Oh, the veteran cornerback. Yes, gotcha. Sorry.
There was none.
No.
PS2 might have 4 years, but he still is not a vet. McLaughlin, McMillan, Riley Moss.
K'Wan Williams was out hurt, Yeah, absolutely.
There was
none. The veteran presence was in our safeties, both of which are gone too, that we relied on the majority of last year as far as that secondary is concerned as well. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot of veteran presence to be going around when it comes to the Denver Broncos secondary. I need to wrap back around, guys, because Phil McLaughlin's in here dropping stars like, man, left, right, and otherwise. Thank you so much, Phil. I didn't say that enough earlier, but we appreciate it, man. small little outlet over here, but looking to get big. Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and every little bit counts. Phil, appreciate you helping us along the way. So he's saying, I'm thinking last year we just didn't get a chance to see what is really available in the wide receiver room. Mims, Virgil, Callaway, Johnson, Hinton, Washington, etc. There could be a star in there with the second year under Peyton and a new QB. This is something that I kind of talked about in regards to the tight end room. If the stats were to prove out that we only threw 18 times over the middle, that's not really a good stat to have as far as a tight end putting up, massive numbers. That's where the guy lives. But what are your guys' thoughts on Phil's comments that, hey, a second year for these guys under Sean Payton's system, maybe a different quarterback that's able to distribute the ball a little bit differently than what we saw in Russell Wilson? Could we see some of these guys maybe end up shining a little bit brighter than what we've seen in the past? What are your thoughts? I'll go to Albert first, man. What are your thoughts about this? And I'll even throw in what was the one name that I was thinking of? Little Jordan Humphreys. I don't see in there as well as far as a name that we could probably add into that list of Phil's. What are your thoughts that one of those guys could be a shining star that just haven't had a chance to shine yet?
Yeah, the only one that I can see that could be the star of these is Mims. We had Virgil, we had Callaway, we had Johnson. The Johnson could be number 3 wide receiver.
Okay.
Hinton is no longer here, I believe.
Yeah, Hinton and Washington are gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only star I could see that could become a star is Mims, and I think he will get his shot this year. Is it going to work with a brand new QB? I think it's going to be difficult. I think a veteran might a little bit better than a brand new QB, because the new QB has to learn the brand new system, and according to everybody, Sean Payton's system is a very difficult system.
Agreed.
So there's a huge learning curve, and that's why I said Marvin Mims might be the only one, and I don't think with a QB quarterback, I don't think we're going to win a lot of games.
There you have it. I would agree. Mims has got to be a name on here, even if it's just more touches like we're expecting, that has a chance to be a little bit bigger star than he certainly was last year. But I'll turn over to Trevor, man. What are your thoughts? Shining star on this roster that we just haven't seen, pop so bright because of maybe not having the time in the system with Sean Payton, not having maybe the right quarterback thrown to him. Do we have a diamond in the rough in there, buddy?
I mean, it's certainly possible. I like Virgil a lot. I think he has a chance to be, a good, decent depth wide receiver. But honestly, I'm not relying upon any of these guys though to be that. I mean, that'd be awesome if you could kind of throw your dart at the dartboard and see if one of these guys sticks. But it's just like, you have to go out there and get the talent. I mean, you have to invest in the wide receiver room. When was the last time this team invested into the wide receiver room? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. And Jerry Jeudy, he's gone. You got Cortland Sutton, but it's like, and you got Reynolds and Marvin Mims. We don't know yet what he's got. So it's just a lot of uncertainties. You have a couple veterans in there, but who's that big star receiver that a young rookie quarterback could throw to? There's not that right now. So you can't. Yes, it's great, and hopefully that we do get a diamond in the rough with one of these guys. But I think Callaway's gone too. But maybe you do get that, but you certainly aren't relying upon that. You have to just start investing to the wide receiver room at some point in time. Maybe that's this offseason. Maybe that's next offseason. Who knows? But I mean, yeah, there's a possibility. It's certainly possible. I just wouldn't say there's a great possibility of it, but hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, hope is out there. Like I said, Mims, I think, is the obvious choice there, man. Here's a guy that hasn't had a lot of time in the league, hasn't had a whole lot of touches in the league. And I think he has a great opportunities in front of him, whether that be with a new QB, whether it be second year in the system, whether it be, even with the old QB in the second year in the system. I think he has opportunity with more touches to really be able to stand out. And heck, he should. We expect a lot out of him as far as where we drafted him and what the expectations are. So kind of like Jody was talking a little bit earlier about trading up for Riley Moss and saying he needs to produce. Absolutely. And we need to see productions out of guys like Mims as well. As far as anybody else, man, it is really, really tough. Really tough to project anybody else really breaking out. Some of those guys have already had multiple years in the league, so it's not like you're haven't seen what you maybe have already seen. I guess is the best way to put it. D-Rock's coming in here and says, I like the fact that Sean Payton didn't play him too much as a rookie. So, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And I think there is something to be said about that developmental plan and how you bring guys in the league. We got into a discussion about quarterbacks and bringing them in and throwing them to the wolves, and especially if the right pieces and parts aren't around him, bringing a lot of guys in a little bit slower is going to help them out in the game. Maybe Mims is one of those guys. Maybe one of those guys that we saw that Sean Payton saw that says, hey, let's just take it slower with this guy. But I think in general, it's a 3-year plan across the board. If we look at, again, playing time. D-Rock's wanting to know what's the over on Dulcich playing more than 8 games. Albert, does Dulcich play more than 8 games next year?
I truly believe so, because with the new health and strength and coach that they have now, I think we had way less injuries than previous years, and I think that is what is helping Dulcich as well. To get the correct training and that kind of stuff, I think, we will see Dulcich at least 9 games.
At least 9 games. He set the over-under at 9, so I'll ratchet it up one for you then, Trevor. Over-under 9 games, because Albert moved it up to 9. Do you think 9 games or more is possible?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll say over. I'll say over, but because I think this is that the Greg Dulcich, he knows and understands this is probably his last time. I mean, his last shot, getting a shot with this team, so he knows he has to stay healthy. Now it's better said, easier than done, but I mean, he just has to push through it. You have to push through. You have to get over that hump and then get that perception away from you and start really performing. And I'd be interested to see. I mean, if they bring in another tight end, how that impacts his game. But no, I do think that it's got to be over. It's got to be over this year, and he's got to start producing. And if he doesn't, I think he's going to be shown the door, because you can't rely upon a tight end that's not in the field.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I was kind of smirking there because I was thinking of Albert. If you bring in Brock Bowers, I guarantee that Greg Dulcich plays 17 games. He's going to be out there playing for his contract. He's going to be playing for his career, and he's going to be playing only probably half the snaps that he would if he was out there without a guy like who did I just name? All of a sudden, I just forgot. Brock Bowers coming to the Denver Broncos. Sorry, got a little bit messed up in the comments, distracted in the comments, I should say. The reason being is because Graham was coming in and reminding us that Moreau was a veteran presence in the cornerback room. That probably was Fabian Moreau is our best veteran corner. Kenny might be saying Fabian Moreau, laugh out loud. So Michael Ronquillo letting us know that former Denver Bronco running back Royce Freeman has signed with the Dallas Cowboys. So a little bit of a update on a former Bronco as well. But guys, we're getting along quite a bit in the hour as I look up at the clock. One of the last thing I wanted to talk about, or a couple other things, maybe make them quick topics on these ones. But Angelo Blackson was a sign product off the free agent market. Now we add him to the Denver Broncos defensive tackle. Been around the league since 2015. And once again, seems like we're trying to plug some holes. I'll go to Albert first. Albert, what are your thoughts as we, like I said, continue to plug holes and bring in Angelo Blackson?
I think there's a really good depth piece. It appears to be that he is a decent run stuffer, and that is what we had big problems with last year. And I think that is what they are doing. They're shoring up the lines, getting some depth behind it, and then who knows, maybe get T Vondre Sweat as well. I think with those pieces that we then have, I think we will have a really good front defensive line.
Yeah, lots of different options and pieces are being brought in. I'm going to hit on that top 30 visit from T Vondre Sweat next as we kind of wrap things up. Maybe go a little bit over tonight for you guys. But Trevor, what are your thoughts as we bring in Angelo Blackson? Like I said, most recently, I guess, a Jacksonville Jaguar, but it's kind of taken a little bit of a tour around the league.
Yeah, he definitely has. I think it's another again depth signing. You will see what happens with him. It seems like Denver really is prioritizing stopping the run this year. I like to see that with Malcolm Roach. Now you got Blackson coming in. That's I think it's really good that they're prioritizing that. We'll see what happens out of that. Also, Enrique is still around too, so it makes me wonder maybe there's some competition there on that defensive line when it comes to not nose tackle position. What guy what's going to be the starters and what guys are going to be depth. I think he's been around the league. He's veteran presence, so I don't mind it at all. Minimum contract. It's not going to cost you much. We shall see how he plays. Maybe he does end up hitting. Maybe this is a guy that will end up showing some good productivity. Will be able to be on the field and be able to show some production. Holy crap, guys! I'm sorry about that.
No, it's
Be
all
able to
right,
show
man.
so maybe this is a good sign for Denver. I mean, I don't hate it. I like that they're beefing up the defensive line and hopeful they won't stop there. They still need to address defensive end, in my opinion. Just getting after the quarterback is still going to be a problem. I like that they're trying to fill in gaps and stop the run, but getting after the quarterback on the defensive line is going to be critical. If not, you're going to have a defense that once again is probably going to be blitzing a lot at a high rate. So love to see what they do going into the draft, and I don't think this signing will affect that too much. But it's definitely a guy to keep an eye on as a really good depth piece.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think it not only a great depth piece, but I start thinking about this. We just had the question come in about from Graham if Purcell's going to be traded. Um, I think the I think the biggest possibility is maybe looking at DJ Jones. We brought in Roach. Now we brought in a guy like Blackson, and there was already smoke, I guess you could say, around a possible trade with the 49ers with DJ Jones earlier this season. We could also trying to move on from his contract would free up even more cap space if we wanted to go down that path right now, though it's a little bit late in the free agency cycle to be thinking about draft or draft capital. However, guys, keep in mind if you really want to be really big into that draft that cap space stuff, if you roll monies to the next year, that you can roll money into that next year if you have leftovers money. So that's always good as well. So you never know what's going to happen, but that's another one that I would look for. Hey, maybe DJ Jones is a move in a trade during the draft, and that moves us on, and then that leaves us with all these different pieces that we brought in. I think that Angelo Blackson is a great piece. I like the motor. He gets his hands up around the ball. He has a lot of deflected passes. He has a blocked field goal for that matter. Great, like I said, great motor. He's played almost every single position across the front line, left defensive end, right defensive end. He's played defensive tackle. He's played nose tackle. And when he played nose tackle, he was paired up with, well, Vance Joseph in Arizona. And that's when he was playing nose tackle. So there's a little bit of a relationship there that brings him into Denver as well. But I think it's a great depth piece. And T Vondre Sweat, absolutely. I think that I'm sorry, switching over to T Vondre Sweat. I'm getting mixed up in those comments. Top 30 visit from T Vondre Sweat. He's recently been in a little bit of heat, and I was looking it up or looking into him too. He doesn't have the best character. I guess he maybe has some character concerns already coming from out of Texas before he got a recent DWI, but he's also a top talent, guys. So T Vondre Sweat recently came in to the Denver Broncos. What are your thoughts? As that would be a key piece in building up the middle of this defense. I'll hit Trevor first on this one. Dutchy kind of alluded to it a little bit already, but T Vondre Sweat, what are your thoughts on T Vondre Sweat and the top 30 visit from the Broncos?
I love it. I love that they're looking into him as a player. I would love to. I think possibly also part of that 30-day visit, top 30-day visit might be trying to get to know him as a person, to see just how well he would fit in this locker room. I think they already know what he's done on tape, and they've seen it in person, I'm sure, as well. So I think that this top 30-day visit would be getting to know him more in person. Hey, how can you learn from this? So this is a recurring problem. If you do fall to us, or if we want to move up for you, I think this would be a really solid piece to add to this team. I'm not sure they go in this direction. With all these nose tackles that they're adding, I don't know if Sweat's a guy they're going to go in that direction for. I still think they do need like another pass rusher, edge rusher, somebody on that defensive line, another defensive end on the other side of Zach Allen. It makes a lot of sense. Sweat, you could move him there, but he's more of a nose tackle, in my opinion, defensive tackle. So I like that they're doing their homework on him and getting to know him more as a player, just in case he does fall to them. I'm just not sure that's a guy that they're going to pursue aggressively.
Fair enough, man. Top 30 visit, might not pursue aggressively, but at the same time, like I said, maybe some character concerns, then this recent DWI. You never know where this guy is going to end up falling because of issues like this. We see things like this happen during the draft. Maybe he ends up being of value. But Albert, what are your thoughts of adding a T Vondre Sweat and his top 30 visit that we just brought him in on?
So, well, if you have a mini Carl Mecklenburg who can play, can put all positions on the front line of the defense, and then you have a T Vondre Sweat, I think we have a really good combination with the purchases we already have. And then guess what? We still have, like Trevor said, Uwazurike there. We still have a DJ Jones, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are, and then on the other side we have Zach Allen. I think you have mighty front there. And then with the off-season thing, look what happened with Micah Parsons. He had so many issues before he got drafted.
Yeah.
And what do you hear now from him? With the right coaching, you can get it out of a player, and you get him on the right path to do the right things. And things happen. And like I said, what happened. He might have had just maybe one glass of beer, and he blew a DUI. And yeah, should he be driving and drinking? No. But does it happen? Who does? Any adult who has ever drunk beer or whatever has not driven and drove, driven and drunk. So it is always that. And so, yeah, if they get the T Vondre Sweat, I would be very happy.
Albert's all about T Vondre Sweat. We don't advocate for drinking and driving here on the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, but at the same time, yes, it doesn't take much. People make mistakes, and kids can be kids and get into some young trouble at times. There has just been a little bit of chatter as people get into backgrounds and looking into characters, and heck, they look into everything. They're looking at who your fifth grade, history teacher was, and who your Boy Scout leader was, and who your best friend was in second grade. They get pretty deep when it comes to some of these top draft picks. And, like I said, a little bit of concern, kind of labeled the class clown and doesn't take a lot of things serious, and maybe doesn't play hard through every single play. But that being said, when he's out there and he's playing hard and he's what he's capable of some of the best. And that's the reason he's up at the top of the board. It'll be interesting. Like they said, some people will go ahead and they'll take character concerns, and that's going to be depending upon each individual, staff and each individual team. Some teams will go ahead and they say, not a problem. We think we have, as Albert alluded to, the right coaches, the right people. We can bring a guy in like this. We can support him. We can get him on the right track. Others, they're not going to have, they'll have nothing to do with it. They draw the line at certain spots and in certain places, and they're not going to touch that person or that particular player. You saw that probably with Micah Parsons and where he fell compared to where maybe a lot of people thought his draft stock was prior to the draft, going, I think if I remember right, number 11 to the Cowboys, but don't quote me on that. So, well, gentlemen, fantastic evening, a lot of different conversation. Got to give a lot of love out to everybody in the posse, but and I know that Albert will probably do so as well. But I want to say a special thank you to Phil that came in and was dropping stars left, right, and left, right, and all over the place. Phil McLaughlin, appreciate you coming in here. We'll get things out to everybody because believe me, Posse, it's not possible with you. It's not as Albert says, it's not as fun without you. It's the reason we're in here. And we appreciate you guys a ton. So just a little quick shout out to you guys before we get to some final thoughts. Got to say again, head on over to Morgan Trinkets. I'll be dropping that link in at the bottom here, guys, as we tend to get our final wrap up comments and get on out of here. I'll drop that in for you guys as well. And again, special shout out to the K&K Sports Show because we're going to be pairing up with those guys for a special draft coverage all 3 days of the draft. You won't want to miss it. You'll be seeing some information on that shortly, and I should say some exciting information on that shortly. So with that being said, Trevor, why don't you get us some final thoughts as we start to move along and get on out of here this evening?
Yeah, I just want to thank all of our amazing posse, Roundup Road. You guys are really truly the best, and really another fantastic episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup. Really appreciate you all guys for showing up and supporting us. It means a lot. Thanks to Phil McLaughlin for dropping stars. That's awesome, Phil. You continue to support us left and right, and we really love it. But honestly, you guys are all the best fans in the world, Roundup Royalty, and we love continuing to bring you guys great content, and we're going to continue doing that as we go forward. As Keith mentioned, we have a 3-day straight draft show coming up for you guys. So, you're gonna really love to see our beautiful faces on these screens. You're really gonna get to see that for 3 days straight. So, I mean, what a treat that might be, huh? Just really appreciate you all, and we'll see you on Friday. We have a little bit of surprise on Fridays now, mock draft Fridays. So, get into that a little bit more. So we'll definitely be breaking down a little bit more as we get closer to the draft. So be prepared for that. Just thank you guys for everything. Really appreciate it. And see you guys Friday. And go Broncos as always. Have a good week, everyone.
Absolutely, man. Got a lot of exciting things going on. And can't wait for the draft. Can't wait for all of you guys to join us, man. You guys are thanking us for a fantastic show. I'm going to jump into those comments in just a second, but I'm going to jump over to Mr. Albert Mile High Dutchie, get his thoughts as we get on out of here as well. How you doing, Albert? How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. It's been a long week, buddy. Why don't you help get me out of here? What do you have to say to Broncos country, our Roundup fans, as we get on out of here, bud?
I want to refer back to a little bit of the comments lately. We are TNT. We are dynamite. We are all about the Broncos, and that is going to stay that way. And Ernie, thank you for the comment the praise that we got from you. I know it is not highlighted, but I think we should.
I was looking for it. I saw it on the side, and I was trying to find it in the comments. So I saw it too, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate the comment and the praise because we're really trying to become the best in about the Broncos. We want to be the best about the Broncos, and we're striving to get better and better. And guess what? You guys make us better. Because with you, we can make a great show. With you, we have more subjects to talk about. We go over our time limits. We only plan for an hour. But because of you guys, we cannot stay within the hour. And we have no problem with that. Because we love what we do and we love having these conversations with you guys. And I want to thank you all for this. Michelle, Pearl, Michael, Big Sis, Kenny, Phil, Patrick, and today we saw a new name, Ray Haas, Jody, D-Rock, Ernie, Graham, Clayton. Guys, without you guys, we don't have such an exciting show. And thank you for being there. We love you guys.
Absolutely, man. You say it perfectly, Albert, man. We got lots of great supporters. The posse, we love you guys. It doesn't matter if you're dropping stars, doesn't matter if you're not. You guys have been in here, you've been supporting us. Oh boy, guys, can you imagine this? We kicked this off back in 2020. This is 2024, man. It's amazing the support that we've got in order to keep us going. All the love, all the comments, we appreciate it. Albert, you couldn't have highlighted any better. So, guys, I'm gonna, like I said, wrap it up, kind of get on out of here as well. we got lots of things going on, guys, and I appreciate it. I want to say that I dropped a couple of links in the comments. One is for our fantastic sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. So Morgan Trinkets, amazing, beautiful, beautiful pieces. Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold, wholesale prices, sterling silver, all sterling silver. Guys, check them out, Morgan Trinkets. Check out that link in the comment. I also, guys, we're getting back into getting a few more articles going. So Rocky Mountain Sports Network, I dropped a link in for that. That's the latest article on Bo Nix. Any Bo Nix fans out there might want to go ahead and check out that article. I wrote that and put that up just a couple of days ago. Getting good traction out there on the www World Wide Web world out there. So appreciate everyone who's went out there and read those comments already. So Trevor, am I spacing? Is it getting too late in the night? Did you already say your goodbyes?
Yeah. No, I said my goodbyes to everyone. And
all right, buddy. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, all good.
All late in the night. I need a round of caffeinated coffee. I'm going to go ahead and get that as well. But thank you to everybody out there, man. I appreciate all of your support. Remember, Denver Bronco Roundup podcast every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Don't want to miss it. We always have great things going on. Like the draft show that Trevor mentioned as he was saying his goodbyes there. Don't forget, we're going to have that K&K Sports Show mashup for the draft show as well. Don't forget, we have on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network all your Colorado sports coverage. So whether it's Broncos, Rockies, Nuggets, or Avalanche, we're getting any coverage. So speaking of which, make sure that you're checking out Settle the Scores with Mr. Scoops, Ryan Woodhams. That's every Friday night right after the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, guys. Lots of things going on. Like I said, lots of fun. Appreciate you guys joining us this evening. I'm going to go ahead and get us out of here as we always do. Make sure you keep your feet in your stirrups. That's right. Your guns in your holsters and the Broncos in your heart. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.